And of course, that's the common sense. They don't allow it for where you find violation. So that would allow us to get attorney's fees from you know who. Number 8, eliminate the requirement to hold a meeting of unit owners when the board decides to exercise their right of first refusal. Yes, this is 7K. Well, part of 7K. Under the bylaws, if the board does see something like a unit like being sold to an investor for $45,000, and they want to buy it up, put it into a 501c3, and put that one unit in the good column for the good guys, they got to call all you guys in here again, and I'm going to make sure that it's a night when there's another baseball game or football game too. So unless you approve this, every time they do this, they're going to have to come here and do this. So anyway, the idea is that it isn't something that most unit owners are going to be really terribly interested in. It's not really going to happen that much, because to do it, they have to get the financing. And under the bylaws, if you recall, they can only borrow $25,000, okay? Otherwise, they do have to get your consent. And the way we're doing 7K, or proposing to do it, if the majority of the unit owners agrees, is I found, and I don't want to put the cart ahead of the horse, but on 7K, I found a private lender. You know, I have a lot of clients who are rich people or whatever, they got so much money, they don't know what to do with it. So they ask me, that's pretty silly. They asked me what to do with their money. And I said, well, you're getting 1.5% on your bank account. I can get you 5%, loaning it fully secured to Your New Home LLC or yournewhome.org, whatever we're going to lend it to buy this unit, just for short term, 2 years, 3 years, 5 years, whatever it is. They're going to rent it out and they'll pay you back, and hopefully they're going to sell it to an owner occupant during that time period, a real owner occupant, not a 501c3. So we convert a unit and keep it in the plus column forever. So there's no obligation of the condo, only of Your New Home LLC is borrowing the money. And I have a client that's stupid enough to loan the money to do it. Anyway, so this one that we're talking about, number 8, just in conclusion, says that we don't have to have this whole big meeting of the unit owners. When the board that you've elected after all, so don't you trust them to like do anything, decides that they want to exercise the right of first refusal, you don't need to have a meeting like this. Certainly on a baseball night. Number 9, eliminate notices to default for mortgagees. Once again, as the bank, the lenders that I have spoken with say, confirm, you don't need to send notices of default to banks. It goes into a circular file somewhere. Nobody gives anything about it, and that's all I have.
Okay, thank you. Thanks, Ed. Thank you, Dave, for your report. All right, so we're going to open up to the discussion point of this. I would like for everybody to, we're going to allow you to speak within 3 minutes if you will. And try and be focused on your comments and any questions you might have. And they must pertain to these amendments we're trying to pass tonight. Any other discussions that you were interested in having would have to take place after this meeting.
Can I just clear up a couple things about 7K? So
We didn't do, he left.
You want to ask me a question, and then we'll give you a...
yeah, I'm confused. You're going to own it, the LLC will own it forever, or you're going to sell it to somebody else eventually, hopefully sooner than
The
later?
idea is to the LLC to purchase it, or the 501c3 to purchase it, rent it out for as long as they need to, put it on the market to sell it to an owner occupant, and be able to sell it as soon as they can.
Within a year or less?
If they can, that would be great. And that'll be the judgment of the board. If they want to take a couple $1,000s loss or something to be able to get an owner occupant in there, that'll be their judgment. Or maybe there'll be a profit on it, because, I mean, $45,000 is pretty cheap.
Does it cost a lot to set up a 501c3?
No, there's a new form that the IRS came out with.
So it's worth it to do that for just a couple months if you were to sell it within 6 months or something?
I'm sorry?
So to go through all that trouble and then you end up selling it within the year is worth it?
No, we'll be
Okay.
putting several units in that LLC.
Oh, okay.
So it will be a one-time unit.
Okay.
Yeah, the transaction costs, deed filing fees, $150. Yeah, on the 7K, let me just further elaborate on the transactions, $45,000. There was a proposal one of the owners had to sell the unit to an investor, and it was $45,000. And so the board has the power to exercise the right of first
Excuse me,
refusal.
Dave, folks, we just have one meeting, so you hear each speaker.
The board voted to exercise this right of first refusal for the purpose of putting it into its designee. Once I was able to locate some private financing for it at 5%, and that's the goal. Is it a guarantee? Is everything wonderful and this is an easy thing? No, everything here is hard. Everything here is hard. Everything here has been hard. Collections have been hard. Everything in Hillcrest is hard because you've got a lot of years of neglect to overcome. But we need the help of everybody in the community to pull together on this.
Okay,
Yeah.
all right. Questions?
Yeah.
State your name, please.
I'm sorry, John Benedictus, we own 1M. And my question is, if we purchase a unit like this, okay, we're gonna purchase it for $45,000. Right away, you question, well, what has made this unit worth only 45? We know all the other residuals, but you walk in and there's holes in the walls and things like this. To make this unit attractive to some buyer who wants to live there now,
Yeah.
we're gonna need to do something to it. You just can't, you're not gonna sell it as it. That money now, how do we account and how do we collect that money to rehab that unit so it is desirable? In other words, there's no mention so far as to where that money would be spent or how it would be spent or gotten.
Well, having personally rehabilitated 2 units myself in the last 60 days, I got a crew of people basically who now are really able to go in. And I got one guy who does the buckled floors, one guy who does windows, one guy who does painting, one gal who does some work also. But the idea is, I don't think that this unit is going to cost all that much, but 45 versus the going rate for a 1-bedroom here is about 55. The lender would loan the money to do that, so that's not a big deal.
It would be a 45 plus the fee.
That's correct, so that would come from the same one.
So say,
And that would be absorbed in the rental of the unit, there would still be no cost to us.
Except for the 5%.
Well, it's not a cost, it gets paid. Yeah. What's your name?
I'm Lisa Palmaffi. I actually have the unit listed at 7K.
Okay.
On this piece of paper, it says where the value came from. It needs, and he visited the unit himself. I said it needs about 20 grand. You agreed and said probably more. So the unit is listed at 45, or being sold for 45. I had it on the market, had offers in the 30s. Only because I got multiple offers from investors, that's what drove the price up to 45. Now, if you add 20 on that, we're at 65, which is over fair market value that the investor will be into the unit for immediately.
We feel we should get.
And
that
if you
done
guys
for
are gonna
all
be
of
the
us.
investor, like, now you feel like you get it done for less?
Absolutely. Since
Okay,
we've
you didn't
already-
say that at the point when we
Since
went,
we've
when I
engaged-
inspected the unit with you.
Okay. Since we engaged in other units and have rehabilitated them, we had an accurate
Mhm.
cost of what this would cost us to do.
Well, this one had obviously a flood, the floors were all warped up, it has washer dryer hookup. The previous buyer already had done, because you always need a city of Peekskill CO, had gone in to see what was required to do that, and we were like, about a week before closing. And then all of a sudden, 2 months later, we're at this point. Now, if the board wants to acquire units, maybe they should go in to talk to people, like the particular owner who was back on common charges, and go talk to them. You could have probably got the unit for about 35,000, based on the market analysis. So, I actually, and that's what you could have gotten it for. If you would go talk to any of these distressed property owners, and tell them to do a short sale, hook them up with people that know how to do short sales and acquire units that way. There's another unit on the market in contract for 50,000. I don't know who the buyer is, but they're saying that it's an owner occupier. But even though the LLC is buying it, they're gonna be renting the unit, so you're still gonna have tenants here. It's just to get the FHA, even though you're still having mostly tenants. Instead of, with the lender could be offering out money when you put your unit on the market, why doesn't that lender offer Hillcrest financing available for owner occupants?
Thank you for your time.
Oh, 2 minutes is up.
Yeah.
I got papers on it if you guys want it, and you can see the market analysis. Thank you.
She had mentioned that there would still be tenants in there, but they would be listed if we put it in the, what's it called? 501c3. They will be listed, that unit will now be listed as owner occupied. So that helps our FHAs. That's the whole reason why we're trying to do this. We're trying to keep these units out of investors' hands and ourselves too. We can't buy these units. And we're trying not to, it's hurting our sites because we would like to invest more, but we cannot. Okay. Paul?
My question to that is, yeah. My question is, we're gonna put
Paul,
somebody in.
give me, mention your name.
Oh, Paul Bull, 7M.
Thank you.
What happens to the owner that's trying to sell?
That's Laura.
Now, wants to sell it to an investor. That investor, you're taking that investor's offer and basically buying, does she get paid? Does the owner get paid? Or is the owner, because they're in default?
I thought she was out of the picture.
Well, is there a bank, Dave, can you set the limit?
Yeah, what we're doing, exercising the right of first refusal, gives you the right to step into the shoes of the buyer in the contract, so the seller gets the money.
Okay.
And,
It's not like they're making a
we would probably close in 2 weeks, I think is what we had offered them.
Yeah, so the buyer still has the same end result.
Right.
I mean, the seller has the same end result.
Gotcha.
Anybody else? Lexi?
I just have to say that I live above
Mention
it.
your name, please?
Raina Fortini, I'm in 7P, just above in the front of that apartment we're talking about. And I couldn't help but hear, I heard someone buy it for $30,000. And I want to know what's going on. I don't mean to sound like Mrs. Kravitz, but I watched people sign on the car, and then it seemed like a week later I heard Marlene trying to sell it to somebody she thought it might go for $50,000. So it's like, I don't know how something might have fallen through or whatever goes on, but it just seemed like there's a lot of flipping or something going on, and the damage, from what I heard, sounds like there's no floor in there. So that sounds like it's a lot of money to fix it, like this gentleman was saying too. So I'm very excited, and I wish you all luck. I hope that good things will come of all of this new stuff, but not going to get into it, but I have some death-like history with a couple of people, and the idea that I have to trust is very hard. So I want to vote for the right thing, but I also have personal issues with a couple of people who have, I have no reason to trust. And so I'd really like to make sure everything's clear.
Can I comment on that? I'm not sure it's been made completely clear, but any of these things that we're proposing to do, including have these LLCs acquire ownership of these different units, do not cost you a nickel. Do not cost any owners in Hillcrest Park any money. Whether it's the purchase price, whether it's the purchase price or the repairs or anything else. No money comes out of Hillcrest Park's funds. Okay, so let's be clear about that. Whatever the repairs are, it really doesn't matter.
But are they acquiring debt, though? For the loans and everything?
No.
The
No.
answer is no.
Okay.
We're not acquiring the debt.
Okay.
I just wanted to make sure we know this. Any other comments?
I have one question. This
Yeah,
whole
Rod,
thing
mention your
is,
name, last please.
my name is Jinder Hillen. I live in 3B. The whole thing is very complicated for me. I'm a very simple person. I just want to know, I own my unit. I pay my common charge on time. I don't owe any money to them. But it's not going to affect us anything who are very responsible for everything.
Absolutely not.
No.
Thank you.
Anybody else?
Any other comments?
Questions? Okay.
Okay, let me.
Laura?
We have a new board that worked very hard to get here. We obviously all responded very well by being here. It seems that all we've done so far, having heard all these reports, are putting this place back into shape. It's not gonna happen overnight. And there's no benefit without having this place. And believe me, we're the same. We feel it because we're not saying, oh, we're gonna put this on the owners. We're not affected, we're all affected. But it's all for the common good. We want to make Hillcrest Park back